Hey guys, Super Rugby Pacific round 11 is almost here. I've been through the team sheets to identify who I think will be the best picks for this round's Fantasy Super Rugby. Don't forget, in the description you can use the chapter select to jump to any particular position you might be interested in. There's also a shorts video on the channel as well, which will summarize all my top picks in every position in less than 1 minute. Before we get into the picks though, let's have a quick look at the fixtures and see where the points are going to be scored this week. And up first on Friday we have the Chiefs versus the Force. The Chiefs are at home, but it's not at Hamilton, it is at the Mount. And the Force, look, they haven't won an away game all year. When they came over to New Zealand and played the Crusaders, they got a hiding in Christchurch. I have a suspicion that we might see the same thing happen against the Chiefs. The Chiefs could be putting up a cricket score here. I have been guilty of severely underrating the Force in the past, but mostly I've done that when they played at home in Perth. Even if it doesn't happen, I think Chiefs players, they're going to go really well this week. They're going to score some points. And yeah, any Chief you pick, I think, will be a solid choice. After that, we have the Reds versus the Blues in Brisbane. There is a bit of chance of rain at this game as well. Make sure you check the forecast when you do your picks, because yeah, picking any backs in a wet game, it's a recipe for disaster. And look, in this Reds versus Blues game, I'm really avoiding players in this game anyway, because you've got the top two defensive teams in the competition going head to head. The Blues have conceded the least tries in the entire competition. The Reds and the Blues, they both tackle. They're the two highest tackle completion teams, up around 90% as well. So yeah, there's probably not going to be a lot of points scored this game, especially if it rains. That makes it even less likely. It's probably just going to be a forwards arm wrestle. So yeah, I'm really steering clear of this one this week. After that, on the Saturday afternoon, we have Moana versus the Fijian Drua. Now, this is the two worst teams defensively in the competition. They have both conceded the most tries each. And normally whenever they play, historically as well, it's always a pretty fun game, pretty open game, lots of running, points being scored, close match. I expect it'll be the same again. Although Moana, they are improved this year. They are a bit more structured. They do have a higher tackle completion than the Drua, and they're playing at home. I do expect them to win here. I do expect them to perform better and score more points. So yeah, pretty big on picking Moana players this week, but I think picking Drua players will be a solid choice as well, because it should be an open game. One thing to be aware of though, there is a chance of rain forecast for Saturday for Auckland. So make sure you check that by the time you do your picks. The forecast does change. And after that, we have Highlanders versus Crusaders in Dunedin, undercover. Guaranteed to be good conditions for running rugby here. And yeah, I'm pretty big on picking Crusaders this week as well. The Highlanders, they really just aren't quite it this year. They fight hard, but yeah, they break, they end up conceding points. It's just not their year. Whereas the Crusaders, they're looking like they could be the best team in the competition. We've seen them wobble a bit at times. It's not clear cut, but they are up there. And one thing we do know for sure, they are a very potent attacking side. That big back three they've got, they go crazy. So yeah, pretty big on picking Crusaders. For the Highlanders, I mean, look, how many points do you think they're going to put back against the Crusaders? Probably not too many, but you might still find a couple solid picks in there. And lastly, we have the Brumbies versus the Hurricanes in Canberra. Again, also a bit of chance of rain forecast at the moment for Canberra, so double check that forecast. And look, this game, I think it's going to be close as well, so I am sort of steering clear of it. Won't be as bad as Reds versus Blues, but yeah, look, the Brumbies, they're kind of like the Blues. They do like to use their big forwards a lot, grind you down before they move the ball wide. And the Hurricanes, I mean, yeah, again, just another team that they haven't looked terrible, but they're just struggling this year. They're not scoring a lot of points. They're not finishing all their opportunities. And being away from home against a tough team like the Brumbies, I mean, I think this game will be close, but I do expect the Brumbies to win it. And yeah, it's probably not going to be pretty there either. So yeah, I'm steering clear of this game. Also on my main channel, you can check my lineups analysis video as well if you want to hear more detail about how I think these games are going to play out. It's important to think about how they will play out because you have to have an idea of where the points are going to be scored, and that's where you want to pick your players for fantasy. Anyway, let's get into the players, starting with the outside backs. And this week, not really a huge amount of options, I think, for outside backs, surprisingly. Normally this is where all the action is. But yeah, you can see at the moment I've got selected Nadawa, Lagana Masi, and Sevu Reece. Those are not final picks. I think all of the Crusaders back three are going to be very strong options this week. I think they will go well against the Highlanders. It's definitely going to be dry. Only thing to think about is that Shea Fihaki is on the bench. He's going to replace one of these guys. It could be any of the three of them. I'm not sure which, so have a think about that. Fihaki, he's played a lot of 14. That's where Reece is, but I mean, they could take Springer off, move Reece to 11. They might decide to sub Jordan because he's played a lot of minutes this year. Maybe he needs a rest. I really don't know which way the substitution is going to go, so interested to hear your thoughts. But yeah, even if you went for all three in the Crusaders, you wouldn't have a bad backline this week. And Ratamai Tavuki-Nikins, I mean, he's hard to ignore. He's only played 2 games since he's come back, but he's been pretty impressive in both of them, even in losing efforts. Like, he's one of those guys, he just gets the ball, he comes up to the defensive line, and he's just on the other side. He's on the break, and it doesn't seem to matter who he's up against. He's capable of doing that, so he's a solid pick. I don't expect the Highlanders to fare that well against the Crusaders, so I've kind of stayed away from him. But I mean, look, he managed 45 points against the Chiefs in a losing effort where they only scored 10, so wouldn't begrudge you for going for him, but definitely not one of my top options. The other picks I am big on though this week are in fact the Chiefs outside backs. The ones that are actually listed in the outside back category are Amoni Nadawa and Sean Stevenson. 2 players which haven't really scored big this year, at least not consistently, especially in the case of Stevenson. Nadawa going pretty well against the Highlanders though. So yeah, kind of slightly risky picks, but honestly, I really do expect them to go well against the Force. Like, points are going to be scored there. They're going to be scored by the back. Maybe they'll all be hogged by the midfield. We have seen that before. Leonard Brown and Quinn Tupac can sort of have their way sometimes. But yeah, I don't hate having a bit of exposure to the Chiefs outside backs in this matchup, honestly, because yeah, those points, they are going to be scored. Other than that though, you can see I've got Lagana Masi here. In general, I'm a big fan of Lagana Masi, and like I said, this Moana versus Drua matchup, I think it's going to be a quite open running game with these defenses that are kind of shoddy. So yeah, I mean, we saw him go pretty well last week against the Waratahs, where the Drua, they really got to have their own way, got a try, got all these line breaks, and he got subbed off at like not even 60 minutes as well. I was so upset that he got subbed. He got subbed for Ravu Taumanda. Important to note that Ravu Taumanda is on the bench again this week, so they could end up doing the same thing. I mean, it seems kind of crazy to me to sub Lagana Masi, but they've done it before. They might do it again, so be warned. And really, that's pretty much it for the outside backs for this pick for me. I mean, you know, these Brumbies back three are so good, but yeah, I expect that Cairns game to be a little bit of a grind. The points will not come easy. Same for Harry Potter against the Chiefs in New Zealand. Not going to be easy. Kenny Naholo is back this week, but again, like, how many, you know, they're not going to run free against the Brumbies. It's probably not going to be that open a game. Important thing to note about Tavatava Nawai is that he is actually back at the wing, on the wing this week. He's at 14 where he used to play. He is not in the midfield. That does improve his scoring chances. And look, I would be interested, but it's just a shame it's against the Crusaders of all teams. Like, it's going to be tough going in that match for him. Ruben Love, he is still playing at 10 for the Hurricanes. He probably will move to 15 later in the game because Hohepa is on the bench, but yeah, that's going to be a really tough game. We saw him play 10 against the Force, only got 8 points. Like, yeah, really hard to justify that pick. Karawalevu and Rakuro for the Enduro. I think these guys actually aren't bad picks, but I kind of would rather just go for Laguna Masi, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why you would pick these guys with what else is on offer, but that's my thoughts on the back three. So we'll move on to the midfield. And at the moment, you can see I've got selected and currently as captain, although I might not stick with this. But yeah, this is probably my favorite pick of the week. Bine Anisi. He is actually starting at 11 for Moana. He is on the left wing, even though he is listed as a midfielder. And yeah, like I said, that Moana versus Drua game, going to be an open running game. Points will be scored as long as it doesn't rain at least. So yeah, keep an eye out for that rain. And yeah, expect the Moana to get the better of this game as well. I do expect them to have a little bit of dominance, and Anisi, he should benefit from that. He's a really good player. He can come in off his wing, and if he gets given anything in space, he'll finish the job. So yeah, really good pick for the midfield this week. It doesn't end there though. You can see my other pick, Daniel Rona. He is also a midfielder who is starting on the wing this game. I believe he is going to be on the left wing as well. And yeah, look, up against the Force, if you're in that 11 jersey, you're probably just going to get fed points one way or another, as long as Quintupira and Leonard Brown don't steal all the points anyway. As long as the ball actually gets out to you, which it should, and has to get through Sean Stevenson as well, which, you know, it should at least some of the time get through them to the wings. And yeah, Daniel Rona, he could be the one to benefit. I'm not big on Rona otherwise in terms of his capabilities, but yeah, I think just being in that 11 jersey, it could be enough this weekend. Otherwise though, those names I just mentioned, Tapia and Leonard Brown, I mean, you can't go wrong with them as well. I'll leave it to you to make your mind up if they're gonna hog all the points or if the wings will actually get a piece of it. I'm really not sure, to be honest. I've seen it happen before, but yeah, I'm just being hopeful here. Other than that though, you have your regular midfielders. Oh, actually no, you got Bailey Kunzel as well. Again, another midfielder who is actually starting on the wing. But yeah, he's up against the Chiefs, right? I mean, you know, he had that game back last week, his first game back in a while. 34 points, pretty decent for a tough, low-scoring game. He also got subbed as well with about maybe 15 minutes to go. Subbed for Pullman, I think. And yeah, it's the same team this week. So yeah, we're probably going to see the same sub happen as well. And look, I mean, they're up against the Chiefs in New Zealand. Like, it's a lot harder than playing the Hurricanes at home in Perth. So yeah, really not fancying his chances a lot, at least over these two guys. And beyond that though, you have your regular midfielders. David Havili, he's been injured quite a bit lately. I think he's actually left the field the last 2 rounds just carrying a niggly injury. So yeah, they keep starting him. I guess they got no one else to play 12. I don't know, but yeah, I'd stay clear of Havili just because I'd be worried about that. And other guys as well, Higgins and Proctor, they came off the bench last week. This week they are getting starts, 2 very good players. They both sort of got this 20-something points, 26 points, but I mean, that's pretty good considering that they came off the bench and only played like 30 minutes or something. So both these guys are good. If you want to pick the Hurricanes backs into the Brumbies when potentially it might rain, I don't recommend it. If you were, Proctor would be one I would go for. But otherwise, there's also Nikitau as well, somewhere here. Yeah, here he is. But yeah, I think it's just going to be tough going in that matchup, and I would definitely steer clear of backs in that match if it does in fact look like it's going to rain that day. Moving on to the 10s. At the moment, I have Willie Havili selected. Remember, D-Mac is not playing this week. I believe he is being rested. Fair enough, he deserves it. So yeah, this is one of those weeks where we got to choose someone who isn't D-Mac. Last week we went for Harkin. That was one of my big picks because, like Willie Havili, he plays in the 15 jersey where you get a lot more opportunity to score points. Harkin was the pick last week against the Force. Not sure he's going to be the pick this week against the Brumbies. I don't at all think he's a bad pick, but yeah, that's a much tougher game for the Hurricanes than the one against the Force probably was. Plus it could be raining there. Because of that, I am favoring Willie Havili, and there isn't really many other options I would consider. Maybe Rabitu, maybe Jacob, because I really like the Chiefs in that Force matchup. But I mean, you can only choose 4 players from one team to remember, so I wouldn't use one of my Chiefs in the slot. And yeah, really not a lot of options there. A bit of a 2-horse race, I think. So I'm going to stick with Havili, but I will be keeping an eye on the weather forecast, and I might tip one way or the other, depending on, if it looks like it's going to be dry in one place and not in the other. Now, halfbacks, not a lot going on here. These 3 options here are pretty much your 3 guys. Cam Roigard, he's always been our guy. This week, I think Noah Hotham, he is a guy to consider seriously just because, yeah, Canes away against the Brumbies, possibly in the wet. Crusaders away against the Highlanders, a weaker team, and it's definitely going to be dry. And look, Noah Hotham, we know that he loves to snipe around the edges of the ruck as well. So, yeah, look, and against a weaker team, that could be somewhere where he finds a bit of space. He will be up against Fakatava directly though, and honestly, I feel like Fakatava will probably be marking him like crazy because, these Fakatava, he was talked about being a fringe All Black a while ago, and he sort of dropped out of the conversation over the last year or so. So yeah, he might just be marking Hotham like crazy, looking for him to do those snipes so he can shut him down just to dampen his spark a bit. That will be quite funny to see, actually. But yeah, Roigard or Hotham, it's tough to decide, but yeah, definitely if it looks like it's raining in Canberra, I would be going Hotham, and I might just go Hotham anyway. Now with the back rows, we have a lot of options as usual. Carlo Tizzano, usually a lock-in. Honestly, you might be able to do without him this week. I don't know if the Force are going to be running in more tries against the Chiefs. That's where a lot of Tizzano's points come from, those more tries. But still, he's just so good anyway. Even when he's not getting more tries, he can get the turnovers. He can carry well. He's super busy, really physical, just an all-round fantastic player, and I will be sticking with him this week. Also this week, my next pick, Adi Savia. He has returned. He did not play last week. And yeah, the Moana, they really missed him. They really didn't fire a shot against the Brumbies at home in Auckland. But no, he is back, and I am happy to select him because, again, just an all-round fantastic player, and I really like this draw matchup. And that is why I also like third average, highest scoring back rower, Miracle Failangi. This guy's just got a nose for the try line, and I think this is a game where he could get there possibly more than once. Only reason I don't have him selected in my third slot is, remember, you can only choose 4 players from one team every week. So yeah, you might need to make some choices here if you're loading up on Moana players elsewhere. Other options I like, well, you can see I do have Matakiai Murray selected. He was quite impressive last week against the Waratahs, got 55 points, 1 try, but I don't know if you watched the game, but yeah, he's one of those guys, he He likes to quickly get in, pick the ball up at the base of the ruck and just go, and he's super quick, and yeah, he can quite easily find himself in a lot of space, and I really like that a lot. Another option as well, Tupou Tailoa, the Moana number 8. I mean, that back row is just really good. Tupou Tailoa, he's just a really big unit. You give him the ball, he's going to carry hard, he can get tackle busts, he can get over the line at close range, he can get offloads. Probably wouldn't prefer him over Miracle, but yeah, again, another good player. If you picked 3 Moana back rowers this week, you'd probably be doing pretty well. I'm not sure who's going to get subbed though in the Moana back row, because on the bench is Havili Talatui, who is a 7, and Artie's going to be in the 7 jersey, but I can't imagine he's going to get subbed this week. Just he didn't play last week, so he should be well rested. So that means maybe Tupou Tailoa gets subbed and then Artie goes into the 8 jersey. I suspect that might be what happens, but I mean, it's possible Miracle gets subbed as well when Artie goes to 6. I mean, yeah, anything could happen there, but yeah, I suspect it probably would be Tupou Tailoa that ends up getting subbed. And otherwise, I mean, look, you got these red picks here. McWright is obviously very good, but like I said at the start, I feel like that Blues versus Red match, it's going to be a total grind. And that isn't necessarily bad for forwards, even if it's wet. I mean, these Reds forwards, they're going to have to make a lot of tackles probably. That's good points. There might also be opportunities to get turnovers at the rucks as well. Like again, the Blues, their clean carry hasn't been so great this year. It was the main thing they were good at last year. This year, not so good. They can get the cleaners can get a bit disconnected from the carry, and we've seen the Blues get turned over a lot at ruck time. So yeah, Fraser McWright, definitely a real option there. Uru also an option, but honestly, I would just take McWright over him every time. Hoskins Satutu is actually not a bad option as well. I mean, last week in that, he was pretty good in that Crusaders game, not just because he threw that insane reckless pass for a try assist, or because he scored a try himself, but just because the Crusaders type 4 defense was so extremely strong. But Hoskins was one of the few guys who could actually get some go forward going, and got a decent amount of points that game as well. I think 46. So yeah, he might go well in that Reds game in just the same way that he went well in the Crusaders game. And if anything, he'll probably go better. Like you're probably going to have an easier time against the Reds than you are against the Crusaders. And someone else who was good in that game, actually, Christian Leo Willie, that was probably his best game of the year. Did get 53 points for his troubles, and yeah, I mean, he's up against softer opposition in the form of the Highlanders, so he's definitely a real option to consider. Not sure who's going to get subbed in that Crusaders back rower though. I suspect he might get subbed because they have Saifaloy on at 6, and he's naturally a number 8, so yeah, they might end up bringing on, I forget their bench back row's name, but he is a 6. He might come on and then Leo Willie will go off and Saifaloy will go to 8, or Saifaloy could just end up coming off as well. If Saifaloy's not having a great game, maybe he will come off, but yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. Now moving on to the locks, and again, my top pick is gonna be Wanga. He was my big pick from last week against the Waratahs game. I was telling everybody he was amazing against the Crusaders when he came off the bench. He got a start against the Waratahs and he just went crazy. He was making line breaks and slipping tackles, and he got 60 points without even scoring a try, which in the lock slot is just amazing. It's like worth way more than, you know, your outside backs getting 60 or 70 points. So yeah, again, Moana Pacific against the Ndrua at home. Like, I'm just loving this guy for this matchup. 100%. He is a guy you got to go for this week. For your second lock though, business as usual. A lot of much of a muchness amongst all these picks. Can't go wrong with Nick Frost and the Hurricanes. I believe Almora is out, so they're down to their second and third string hookers, and the Hurricanes line out's been so terrible this year. So look, Frost might be good for a couple of pickups at line out time. That does get you good points. The pick I've gone with though is Cam Christie, and he's another guy who's actually plays at 6 but is listed in lock and hasn't a lot of great scores because he's mostly been coming off the bench outside of this sort of block of 3 games here, where one of them he did pretty well, getting 37 points. The other 2 getting pretty meh scores, but you know, I'm willing to give him another go. Other than that, I mean, Josh Berry, he's pretty impressive as well, but yeah, I'd rather just go for Christie. And then you got all the usual suspects as well. Swain, Canham, Tupou Vai, actually, he might be a good pick this year, coming up against the Horse as well. And for the hookers, not a lot going on this week, to be honest. I mean, look, Nathan Dolly playing on Amosa, he is out again. Was a late scratching last week. Nick Dolly's coming in. I mean, how many more tries are the Force going to get against the Chiefs this week? I don't know. Probably not going to be a lot. Same story with Billy Pollard. How many more tries is Pollard going to get against the Hurricanes? I mean, the Hurricanes, they defended that Force maul pretty well, but, you know, maybe the Brumbies, they'll get 1 pass. Probably not 2. Yeah, this guy, like, he doesn't really get a great score unless he gets 2 more tries. So, yeah, you can try your luck there. Not terrible, but probably not great. And same story with Richie Asiata against the Blues. Like, yeah, I don't know if the Reds are going to get a more try against the Blues, let alone 2. But yeah, might be a lot of tackles to be made with that Blues grind. Cody Taylor against the Highlanders. Taylor hasn't been amazing this year, to be honest. We need the guys on the breakdown to call him out in the same way that they called out Scott Barrett, and then suddenly he put in a huge performance. Actually, he was pretty good in this Blues game, to be fair. But yeah, he hasn't been getting amazing fantasy scores, but could still go well against the Highlanders. Taukei'aho, I do like him. He's in that Force match. Should be opportunities for points, but he hasn't been that great this year either, to be honest. Ever since he came back, it's just been kind of meh. And Kurt Eklund's pretty solid, actually. Hasn't had a lot of opportunities. He's mostly been coming off the bench, and when he started, he was good. And when you look at his scores, like you don't see any line out errors at all. In fact, he hasn't had a single line out error all game. I mean, imagine that and just getting no game time. To be fair though, Riccatelli, he is pretty low on line out errors as well. But yeah, Eklund, definitely not a bad pick at all either. At the moment, I got Taukei'aho, but yeah, maybe you want to, you're heavy on Chiefs, you want to free up a Chiefs slot. Maybe you want to go Eklund instead, try it like with Taylor, maybe Dolocotto, but no, really not a fan of these guys down here. And now finally we are on to the props, and as usual, not a lot going on, but there is one pick I want to talk about, and it is Feleti Saita'ufa'o. This is that Moana tight head. I don't know if you remember that game against the Waratahs, but he just went absolutely nuts. Scored 3 tries, most of which are pretty close range. And yeah, what we saw of him in that game was just massive power. He is so difficult to stop close to the line. And look, I mean, this is Moana against the Endrua. Like, the Moana, they're going to be able to get down the Endrua end of the field. And look, they're probably going to give this guy the ball as well and ask him to do what he did in that Tars game. And he's probably going to do it as well. So, yeah, huge potential upside for picking this guy and just not a lot of downside, even if it doesn't work out. Because, yeah, these props, I mean, look, the best ones, they average 24 points. So, yeah, just an easy pick to go for. Otherwise, for your second prop, bit of a muchness, to be honest. Go with who you like best. Alatoa, he scored a lot of tries this year. Will he get one against the Canes? Probably not. Probably going to be a tough game. Robertson been super solid all year, but I mean, that Chiefs scrum is really good. Like, we saw them really, you know, turn the screws on that Highlander scrum. And yeah, we saw the Force scrum kind of going backwards against the Hurricanes scrum last week as well, although the Hurricanes did end up getting penalized a lot. But it was clear when they didn't get penalized that, yeah, the Canes scrum was just monstering them. So yeah, this Chiefs scrum is no slouch either. Could see a similar thing this week where these Force props don't end up with a lot of points. Also, Marley Pierce isn't playing this week either, so possibly that weakens the scrum. Fletcher Newell is what I've gone with just because I do like him. He's up against the Highlanders. That Crusaders scrum, it was looking pretty dominant over the Blues, especially at the end when the bench props came on. And look, this Highlanders scrum, they got Ethan de Groot. That should keep it steady, but we've seen Salu'u Ma'u get penalized a lot in the past. I think it might have been in that Reds game. He just got whistled off the park and he's playing again. So yeah, potentially Crusaders scrum could go well against the Highlanders, and yeah, Newell might end up getting a lot of these +3s for scrums, one outright, which gave him a very good score last week against the Blues. Otherwise, you know, same story. Dyer up against that Force scrum, potentially he could go good as well. But otherwise, much of a muchness. I don't have any more to say about the props. Now, as for who to pick as your captain this week, it's actually a little bit tricky. At the moment, I have Anisi selected, and I do expect he will go pretty well. But otherwise, pretty much anyone you might like in your outside backs could be a good option. Sevu Reece is always solid. A lot of people are going to have Will Jordan. Won't be able to go wrong with him either. Willie Havili actually, I think, could be quite a strong pick, not just because he's strong at fullback anyway, but because Garden Bishop is starting at 10 this week. Pellegrini's on the bench. That means Willie Havili could actually take over the kicking duties, at least while Garden Bishop is on the field. So that'll give him a nice little boost on top of any running he can do from the back, any tries he might score, which I do suspect the Moana will get a lot of in this game. So yeah, he will be a really solid pick as well. Otherwise, in my team in particular, I would be looking at Reece. But yeah, I am kind of worried with these guys about who gets subbed. One thing to note about the Chiefs this week is that they do have a 6-2 bench. The only backs they have are a 9 and a 10. They've brought in Caleb Trask as pretty much their only backs cover outside the halfback. So yeah, Caleb Trask, he's pretty much guaranteed to replace Josh Jacob probably late in the game when it's almost sealed up. Potentially he could come on and play fullback. Maybe he replaces Stevenson or possibly even Nadawa, although I doubt it. But yeah, I think those Chiefs back 3 picks will be pretty solid in terms of getting subbed, so you could go for any of them. Of course, there's only 2 of them because one of them is Rona. Probably wouldn't captain Rona, but you never know. So yeah, kind of a tricky one this week. Definitely not straightforward, but yeah, I would be leaning on Sevu Reece or Will Jordan if you have one or both of those. Otherwise, Fernandez would be my third cab off the rank. In terms of using your boosters this week, I still have my triple captain booster to use, and honestly, I was kind of hoping to use it this week. I was really hoping that D-Mac was going to play against the Force at fullback, at home. If he did, 100% I would have triple captained him this week, as long as it wasn't raining anyway. But yeah, he's just not playing. They smartly rested him this week. I was worried that this would happen, but yeah, it's left me kind of hanging loose a bit. This does seem like it should be a good week to use your boosters, but because there's so many options, that's kind of what makes it tricky. So yeah, honestly, I really don't know whether or not to use the boosters this week, but interested to hear your thoughts if you're planning on using yours or thinking about it. Really interested on what you're hot on this week. Anyway, guys, that will do it for this week. Hopefully you found this useful. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, or if I've missed anything, or if you have any questions. Otherwise, hope you enjoy the games this weekend. Have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one.